when we talk about explanatory styles, we're going to get a little bit nerdy, but I want you to help you identify what explanatory style you have, because the way you explain life to yourself truly determines how you experience life. And if you know anything about me, and if you've read the book, you read the foreword, we talk about the narrative gap. And in that narrative gap, that's also what my next book is going to be. We talk about how we use narrative to construct reality. And as we're doing that, sometimes we have a situation where it goes and all of a sudden there's a gap that's created, right? If I'm in the middle of a presentation, there's a gap. What did your brains do? Immediately, it got weird, right? That gap immediately was filled because this is the understanding of reality. And reality is a narrative, but you filled it with an assumption. And that assumption comes from a source. Now, I want to talk about the sources right now. Where are you pulling your assumptions to the narrative gap? And that comes down to how you explain it. And another way of saying explain it, how do you fill the gap? How do you explain the scenario of what just happened? Something good happens to you. How do you explain that? Something negative happens to you. How are you explaining that? The way you explain it is really truly determines your experience of the world and whether you're an optimist or a pessimist. And that's really where we're headed. And so this is where it gets to be a lot of fun. And so if we think about explanatory styles, I'm going to kind of run at this head on and give you what it looks like. And then we're going to run some scenarios to it. And then I want to kind of open it up to say, okay, how can we then turn this into actionable tools to really help us view the world differently? And then more importantly, how can you turn this around and help the people around you to see the world? And then maybe, what if your job was to be the influence to help people explain the world differently? What if you could help your children explain the world differently? And they would focus on this, but because you spoke, now they could see the opportunity.